The PlayStation Studios family gets its 14th member with the announcement that Firesprite, the developers of the Playroom, is joining the team. The PlayStation Studios family features some of the world's greatest developers. With the acquisition of Firesprite, the PlayStation Studios family grows one studio larger, becoming the 14th member of the Invincible Group. Sony has had first-party developers ever since the original PlayStation, some of which are still with the company to this day. It was not until 2020 when Sony revealed the PlayStation Studios branding that all of its first-party studios would fall under. The PlayStation Studios brand includes the world's best developers like Santa Monica Studio, Naughty Dog, Insomniac Games, Guerrilla, Sucker Punch, Media Molecule, and many others. Complete with a sleek animation of various games flashing along the surfaces of the iconic shaped button icons like the introduction to a Marvel Studios movie, the sense of prestige and quality is immediately conveyed when it plays while starting up a game. The head of PlayStation Studios, Herman Hulst, took to the PlayStation blog this morning to announce that Firesprite would be joining the PlayStation Studios family. Firesprite is a Liverpool-based studio that has worked closely with Sony PlayStation in the past, developing games like the Playroom on PS4, the Playroom VR, the Persistence VR, and the Persistence PS4, Run Sackboy Run and Air Force Special Ops Nightmare. Earlier this year, PlayStation announced that it had acquired Housemarque, making Firesprite the 14th studio to join the PlayStation Studios family. The Liverpool-based game developer is best known for working with PSVR for the horror shooter The Persistence, and for supporting Sony's The Playroom titles, but it is a substantial studio with more than 250 employees. To put that into context, that's larger than PlayStation's other two major UK teams, London Studio and Media Molecule combined. But what also makes this notable is that Firesprite was formed by the employees of Sony's famous Liverpool studio, the developer that was with PlayStation from the beginning and created the Wipeout franchise, before it was closed in 2012. Despite the decades-long legacy and friendship, Hulst was keen to remind us that Firesprite is still a relatively young studio. And that part of the excitement around the acquisition is the ability to nurture this team into becoming one of PlayStation's major studios, sitting side by side with the likes of Naughty Dog, Santa Monica, and Guerrilla Games. They are recruiting now for, and has 44 posts open. Firesprite also confirmed that they are working on 3 games. One game is a PSVR 2 multiplayer title, the second one is a AAA game, reviving an old franchise. The third one is a support project on Star Citizen, a PC exclusive. This is great addition to PlayStation Studios, as they gave their word, they will make games that is different from the others. The next-gen PlayStation VR titles could be high in quality, and also they have 3 teams, and the games they put could be near, and we can expect something from them in the PlayStation Showcase, as a recent report suggested that Wipeout PSVR 2 is coming. Hulst's blog post includes a letter from Graham Ankers, the managing director of Firesprite, where they express their excitement for joining PlayStation. Both Hulst and Ankers reflect on Firesprite's PlayStation roots, as some of the team's developers can be traced back to titles like the original Wipeout. Ankers extends their thanks to PlayStation for not only letting Firesprite help develop PlayStation's visions for games, but helping them create their very own IP in The Persistence, a 2018 PSVR horror game. This announcement comes at an auspicious time for Firesprite, it coming just days ahead of the PlayStation Showcase 2021. While Ankers' closing remarks, "You'll continue to hear and see more from us all very soon," may just be a rhetorical statement, they could very well also be pointing towards an announcement during the upcoming showcase. According to their website, Firesprite is currently developing Star Citizen Theaters of War for PC, so an announcement may be in relation to this, perhaps coming to PS5, or something totally unexpected. Regardless, it is great to see another developer be rewarded for their hard work and attaining the pedigree that comes with being a PlayStation studio. And a reminder that I will be covering the PlayStation Showcase after the show, with more updates from the developers and game reveal analysis. God of War is one of the most defining universes of all time, a classic PlayStation series that got everyone talking. Tentatively known by the subtitle Ragnarok, God of War's sequel is the most hotly anticipated games of all the known AAA titles in development at the moment. The game really need to deliver more of what made the previous title great, and one company's involvement makes it likely that will happen. A company called Valkyrie Entertainment is working on God of War Ragnarok. Valkyrie is perhaps the most appropriately named company to help out on a project that takes place within the world of Old Norse mythology. Valkyrie helped out on the previous God of War in 2018 as well, so the quality of its work is on display. With God of War Ragnarok leaked for PlayStation Showcase 2021, it's likely the company's work will be on display again soon. The full extent of Valkyrie's contributions to God of War Ragnarok is unknown. What is known is that Valkyrie is aiding with 3D environment art and possibly character design. If Valkyrie contributed significantly to these aspects in God of War 4 as well, then it's safe to say that Ragnarok will look very good. The amazing visuals were some of the best parts of God of War, a game packed full of good parts. Seeing the visuals again is one of many reasons players need a PS5 upgrade for God of War. This is nowhere near Valkyrie's second time in the saddle either, as the company is in somewhat high demand. At least, if the fact it also worked on the recent Aliens, Fireteam Elite is any indication. While Aliens, Fireteam Elite is definitely a mixed bag right now, its visuals are nothing to scoff at. Whether or not the full extent of Valkyrie's contributions will be fully released to the public is not known at this time. Still, with a company that has a proven track record creating good visuals working on it, it's good to know that Ragnarok will likely match or surpass its predecessor in shine. Odds or any trailers will only help to keep God of War Ragnarok as one of the most anticipated AAA games in development. Speaking of God of War, the games industry has lost another veteran, one that worked particularly closely with Radical Entertainment and Sony Santa Monica. George Mall, one of the gameplay engineers behind weapons in God of War such as the Blades of Chaos and Leviathan Axe, has died. Mall died on September 2nd, and the cause of death remains unknown. Mall had a storied career in the industry that dates back over 20 years, including 7 years at Sony Santa Monica where he worked on God of War. Mall departed Sony Santa Monica back in February to work on an unannounced project. His former colleagues were shocked to hear of his passing so soon afterward. During his time at Sony Santa Monica, George Mall worked on Kratos navigation, RPG systems, weaponry, tons of combat behaviors, improvements to the scripting system, and much more. Being an industry veteran, Mall was also able to get rid of a lot of persistent bugs in God of War. The gameplay engineer previously worked for Radical Entertainment in the past on Prototype in order to perfect the game's combat systems. Mall's colleagues at Sony Santa Monica broke the tragic news about Mall's passing over the weekend. Both combat design lead Mihir Sheth and creative director Cory Barlog were among the voices expressing their sorrow for the loss of George Mall. The two also reflected on the gameplay engineer's lengthy career and some of the things he was able to accomplish in game development. Combat design lead Mihir Sheth took to his Twitter to ask his followers to recognize that key aspects of God of War and Leviathan Axe were possible due to George Mall's work. According to Sheth, the throwing and recalling of the Leviathan Axe and the twirling of the Blades of Chaos in God of War are both possible due to Mall's engineering. Sheth sat near Mall for nearly every day across over 5 of the 7 years that Mall was at Sony Santa Monica. Mihir Sheth also gave fans a glimpse into Sony Santa Monica, as George Mall's nickname with some members of the studio was Furious George. Mall acquired this nickname because he couldn't be stopped once he was set on an idea. Mall wanted to challenge what everyone believed in various aspects of his life from his education to carpentry projects. Cory Barlog hailed George Mall as both a brother and one of the fathers of the Leviathan feel. Mall was an amazingly funny, smart and warm human being according to Barlog. The Sony Santa Monica creative director also told God of War fans how crucial Mall's work on the Leviathan Axe and its recall system was. Much respect to the man, and rest in peace. Moving forward, we finally have an update on the Spider-Man content for Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers launched a full year ago. This month, there is a 1-year anniversary bundle for players, plus plenty more is on the way to fill out the rest of 2021. Players have made the sore spots of Marvel's Avengers abundantly clear, and many of those spots have not been addressed. However, it's possible that this will change in the near future, if the new roadmap released by Crystal is any indication. Said roadmap was tweeted out by the official Marvel's Avengers account and promises features and reworks. The roadmap begins with the September additions to the game, the biggest of which already happened, the above-mentioned one-year anniversary bundle. Other additions include community missions like Priority Minion Rush, Cargo Runner Synthoid, and Flashback Rewards Cache. Also included in September and the remaining months going forward are costumes inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with one MCU costume for Black Panther already released. The remaining updates are spread throughout fall and winter, but the roadmap does not lay out any hard dates for said updates. While a full roster of MCU costumes for Marvel's Avengers will be nice, it's not the biggest draw that the roadmap promises. Foremost among these is the game's first raid battle, a massive boss battle that requires cooperation from many players. The first raid planned is one against Claw, the final boss of the War for Wakanda expansion. Presumably the raid battle will be significantly different from the Claw battle already in the game. Also promised is the arrival of SpiderMan with an accompanying event, although as stated with the game's release, this will only be available on PlayStation consoles, which could be revealed at the event. Perhaps most exciting for the content coming in the wake of War for Wakanda is the promise of certain system reworks. One of these is a change to resources and gear upgrades, although what these changes are is not detailed. Hopefully they will reduce the grind that comprises Marvel's Avengers late game. Another interesting rework is the addition of earnable cosmetics. Cosmetics are famously only purchasable through real-world money in Marvel's Avengers, with gear providing no cosmetic change. There is no official word on whether this change will make all or most cosmetics earnable, or only extend to new cosmetics added after the update. Perhaps these changes from this roadmap stabilize Marvel's Avengers player count after it recovered somewhat from an abysmal low on PC. Only time will tell for sure. Marvel's Avengers was not doing good at the beginning. After the launch of Black Panther expansion, the game has improved considerably, and also featured in weekly NPDs with consistent more player counts. And, with the arrival of Spider-Man, if it is good, the game will reach farther heights. Sony recently released a new version of the PS5 that made a few improvements to the console's design. However, one hardware tested it correctly and confirmed that the new PS5 is actually better than the old version. YouTuber Hardware Busters International became interested in the topic after another YouTuber uploaded a PS5 teardown video that spread fake information about the model's reduced heatsink. According to Hardware Busters International, the only external difference on the new PS5 is that the screw that holds the base of the PS5 in place now has some plastic around it to allow owners to turn it by hand instead of requiring a screwdriver. On the subject of the internals, however, the YouTuber states that Sony uses different kinds of fans in its PS5s because of the scale of production. He was lucky to find two PS5s, new and old, with exactly the same type of fan. He claims that this heatsink alteration is the single biggest change in the revised PS5, and while both units have almost exactly the same speed during the fan duty cycle, the new PS5's CPU had an operating temperature about 11 degrees Celsius, or 20 degrees Fahrenheit, cooler than the old version. Although the heatsink on the new unit is indeed much smaller, it apparently contains the same number of heat pipes. Aside from this and a different Wi-Fi module, the new PS5 is slightly noisier because of the new heatsink, but Hardware Busters International appears to believe this is an acceptable trade-off, though he admits that it would be better if he had about 5 units of each console model to test. The old PS5 does come out slightly better when it comes to keeping memory cool, but the tech tester states that the CPU is more important. Power consumption is virtually the same under all conditions, but the new PS5 does have a higher exhaust temperature, which Hardware Busters International says means the console's heatsink is more effective despite the recent gaming PC component shortage. He confirms that this means the new heatsink performs better despite being smaller and lighter. I will give the link to his video in the description, you can check it out there. While not all leaks have actually come true in the past, there have been some that many fans were excited about that later turned out to be. Now, it seems there is a possibility that a Men in Black video game in the works. Earlier today, a report showed a screenshot of a gaming listing off the EB Games website. In it, there is a concept image for a Men in Black PS5 game. I do not know if this is true. It could be fake and photoshopped. The bottom left corner of the Men in Black game cover image also shows the logo for Ben Studio, the company responsible for Days Gone and Uncharted Golden Abyss. Currently, there is no word from Ben Studio about whether or not this leak is true, and the original leak listing for the game has been taken down from the EB Games website. If the leak does happen to come true, this could spell out great things for the series. Men in Black needs a revival, and a new game could be a good start to something new. The last attempt to revive the franchise, Men in Black International, wasn't met with the greatest of reviews and flopped at the box office. Sony's studio boss Tom Rothman stated that he believes this happened because the idea for the film wasn't strong enough. However, Ben Studio could create that strong new idea the franchise needs in a video game platform. And there won't be a previous title to compare the game to since the last Men in Black game was all the way back in 2012. However, the only question is whether or not the game will take place during the original trilogy, the Men in Black International movie, or a completely new setting. Some fans on Twitter have expressed that they won't be interested in the game unless Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones characters are somehow involved in the game, so that should be considered. If the Men in Black game does happen, many gamers hope the gameplay is similar to action titles such as the Hitman series or a third-person strategy-type game like XCOM. As nice as it would be for this idea to come to life, it is important to remember that this is only a leak so far. Hopefully, Ben Studio can further clarify this possibility for fans in the near future. Having come out as an Xbox 360 exclusive, followed by a PC port, more than 11 years ago, fans have been clamoring for either a remaster of Alan Wake, or a sequel. With rumors about a remaster of Remedy Entertainment's survival horror game in the pipeline doing the rounds, the community has been on pins and needles ever since, hoping that these speculations would be confirmed. Well, it seems as though people's prayers have been answered, as a blog post written by the studio's creative director does indeed confirm what the rumors were saying. Publishing to the community-run Alan Wake website, the blog post, which is entitled An Open Letter from Sam Lake, announces that the remaster is not only currently in development but is nearing completion. The creative director at Remedy Entertainment went on to say that the original game was a story that was close to his heart, and that the remaster is happening because of the overwhelming support from the community. The remaster will keep the feel and experience of the original intact, the blog post says, though there will be some visual tweaks to the titular character and the cinematics. The fact that the game was such a hit when it first came out in 2010 shows that Remedy Entertainment remastering Alan Wake is a good move on its part, and an opportunity to talk about it at upcoming events. While an Alan Wake 2 would also make sense, remastering the original game is certainly going to be a crowd pleaser. With the success of Control, and the studio's previous IP, the time-bending Quantum Break, it's possible that Remedy simply wanted to return to a game that was made with love and a passion for horror. It also shows that the developer is more than happy to listen to what the fans want. Upon release, Alan Wake impressed players with its Silent Hill-esque backdrop, though not quite as disturbing, and its smooth blend of paranormal horror and action sequences. It was also praised for its writing, with a degree of polish that shows how much care was put into it by the team. With the remaster now definitely coming out, fans of the original can look forward to reliving the experience in the modern era. One of the major selling points for Alan Wake when it originally released was its cinematic story. Although most AAA games now have great cinematography and compelling narratives, Alan Wake Remastered will likely still stand out because of how unconventional its story is. Set in Bright Falls, a cozy town in the Pacific Northwest, the game follows famous author Alan Wake and his wife Alice as they begin their vacation. Alice pushes Alan to get some writing done, but ends up being kidnapped by a mysterious entity known as the Darkness. As Alan tries to rescue her, he begins to uncover the mystery surrounding the coastal town, all while being attacked by monsters straight out of a book supposedly written by him. Although not a wholly original plot, Alan Wake uses plenty of elements that aren't often found in gaming. Its setting, story, and characters feel unique, and it's structured like a season of a television show rather than a traditional game. What's more, Alan Wake is full of intrigue and mystery reminiscent of the works of Stephen King or David Lynch. Despite the way its narrative seems to be standard for many other works, it stands out among games. While some gaming enthusiasts appreciate the charm of older games, presentation has come a long way over the last few console generations. The exponential growth in gaming's graphical fidelity means older titles usually look their age, because of the technology that they were created with. This issue turns a lot of modern gamers away from older titles that, while still holding up relatively well from a gameplay perspective, might not look very good. Although it looked great at the time, Alan Wake could use a fresh coat of paint. By giving the entire game the remaster treatment, Alan Wake will hopefully look just as good as, if not better than, other major releases from this year. The announcement for Alan Wake Remastered says the game will be receiving a graphical overhaul to update the visuals and cinematics for modern audiences. What's more, Alan Wake's character model will be updated to be on par with other modern games. Hopefully, this means the game will be more appealing to a wider audience. The updated graphics and textures coming to Alan Wake Remastered will help a lot of different things, but perhaps most importantly the game's atmosphere. Despite some elements not holding up to modern standards, the original Alan Wake featured a generally spooky atmosphere and some great forest environments. With updates to the game, Alan Wake Remastered will be able to focus more on the psychological horror aspects of the story than ever before. And also, if the game utilizes the DualSense controller and 3D audio, it will be a whole new definitive experience on the PlayStation 5. Most people who have finished the game would likely argue that Alan Wake never gets scary, however it has the tense feeling that plenty of thriller films achieve because it focuses much more on Alan Wake's psyche. Scary things happen to him, but he's usually able to combat them with a flashlight and a revolver. This ends up making the game a lot more accessible to those who don't have a stomach for horror, as it allows the tension to come from atmosphere and psychology over big scares. One of the main reasons that fans should make sure to pick up Alan Wake Remastered is because of the game's connection to the Control universe. The events that happened at Bright Falls are recontextualized throughout Control, making it worth a play to simply expand the lore. It's also likely Alan Wake Remastered might add some additional content that ties it directly into the events of Control, or that could include clues of what's to come for both series. There are some major questions regarding where Remedy is taking its franchises next, and hopefully Alan Wake Remastered will provide some answers. Fans shouldn't necessarily expect anything huge to be added, but there could be clues in the collectible documents scattered throughout the world or in environmental set pieces. There has been plenty of speculation regarding an Alan Wake 2 or Control 2, so there's likely to be some sort of evidence hidden within the remaster as to where the universe is headed next. Apart from the Control multiplayer title, it's not entirely clear what else Remedy Entertainment is working on. The company has made a handful of statements on Twitter regarding the next Remedy game, however nothing concrete is known about it yet. If something that puts both Alan Wake and Control center stage together is coming, then it would be worth Remedy's time to remaster Alan Wake to remind fans of its story, but also to add more details about what's to come. There could be additional scenes or documents referring to the next Remedy title hidden in a new version of Alan Wake that set things up for what's to come in a major way. While Alan Wake Remastered won't change anything major from the game's original story, there's a good chance that it will include some small secrets to help set the stage for the next title. It's not known publicly if it'll be Alan Wake 2, Control 2, or something else entirely, but after Control went out of its way to make critical ties to Alan Wake, we can expect an even bigger crossover than what took place in AWE. We got an update on Alan Wake, guys. Amazon listed the previously confirmed Alan Wake Remastered. The game is apparently being listed at a £24.99, roughly $35 USD price tag. The links currently lead to an Amazon listing for PS5, PS4, and Xbox Series X versions. Last-gen versions are reportedly going to include a free current-gen upgrade. The newly placed Amazon listing also includes several screenshots, where you can check it here, as I am gonna show it. I have looked at the screenshots, and they have been well done graphically in case of a remaster compared to a PS3 game. As mentioned before, Alan Wake Remastered was confirmed by the game series writer Sam Lake in the fan website The Sudden Stop. The remaster will be released on Xbox, PC via Epic Games Store, and, for the first time ever, PlayStation. It will also include 2 expansions, The Signal and The Writer, but not American Nightmare. Alan Wake Remastered is aiming to be released during fall 2021. Another retailer has suggested an October 5th release date. Up next we have updates on the PS Now games of September 2021. While it may not get as much attention as its PlayStation Plus program, PlayStation Now still offers a significant value to PlayStation gamers, and even those on PC. For the uninitiated, PlayStation Now is a subscription service from Sony where users get access to hundreds of PS2, PS3, and PS4 games in exchange for a relatively small fee. Nearly all of the games can be streamed, and many can also be downloaded for improved performance. Like other subscription services, Sony updates its PlayStation Now offerings on a regular basis to keep its subscribers, and September 2021 is no different. Sony has officially announced the new PlayStation Now games for September 2021. Starting Tuesday, September 7th, PlayStation Now subscribers can check out Final Fantasy VII, Ghost of a Tale, Killing Floor 2, Moonlighter, Pathfinder Kingmaker, and the popular fighting game Tekken 7. Tekken 7 will be available to PlayStation Now subscribers until February 18, 2022, though no removal date has been announced for the other games coming on September 7th. PlayStation Now subscribers are free to check out any of these titles, though the headliners are certainly Final Fantasy VII, Killing Floor 2, and Tekken 7. In the case of Final Fantasy VII, it is just the first of many other Final Fantasy games coming to PlayStation Now, with Final Fantasy VIII, IX, 10 Part 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age coming to the service in October, November, December, and January, respectively. Moonlighter is a roguelike action RPG with a charming visual style and story. Players take on the role of Will, a traitor who aspires to become a hero. Its pixelated graphics have a nostalgic appeal, and its gameplay consists of top-down action and store management. Moonlighter was received well when it released, and for gamers who enjoy dungeon crawling and facing down impressive bosses, this could be the best pick of PS Now's new games. Windbound is an indie survival game, and it's a bit different from the other additions to PS Now this month. Its gameplay consists of scavenging resources to craft tools and upgrades for the protagonist's boat. Players encounter hazardous seas and oceanic creatures, and the goal is to survive. The narrative is expressed environmentally and through text sections for the most part. Windbound is a far cry from the other high-profile new games on PS Now this month, but it could players a charming and memorable experience. For fans of CRPG games like Baldur's Gate, Pathfinder, Kingmaker Definitive Edition could be a great choice. The lengthy RPG is perfect for fans who are looking for a dose of Dungeons and Dragons-inspired adventuring. The game is based on the Pathfinder tabletop RPG, which is in itself based on Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 edition. Players have access to an array of character classes, companions, and abilities to combat a wide range of fantasy monsters, while also managing a kingdom. This version of the game includes all previously released DLC too, which is sure to add to its already lengthy runtime. For RPG fans, this could be the standout choice of September's PS Now additions. Killing Floor 2, meanwhile, is an online-focused first-person shooter game where players can team up with their friends to kill hordes of monsters. It's a fast-paced and intense shooter, and while it may not be the most critically acclaimed FPS available to play on PlayStation Now, it still has its dedicated fans and is definitely worth checking out for fans of the genre. And finally, Tekken 7 is the latest installment in the critically acclaimed Tekken fighting game franchise. Tekken 7 has been criticized for its monetization, but it has also been praised for its core gameplay and for being one of the more feature-rich fighting games currently available. Tekken 7 also has some impressive DLC characters, like Negan from The Walking Dead, so those playing for free through PlayStation Now may be tempted to pick up some of the extra fighters for their roster. Sony has been making major additions to the service throughout 2021, and hopefully, for fans, this trend will continue into 2022. The September lineup offers a diverse selection of games that should cater to a wide variety of gamers' tastes. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.